so that we also have membership from the Senate. But another thing we are doing, which is important for the tribunal, if you look at the current act, it says the tribunal will be drawing their expenses, their costs, they will be drawing the money to take care of their expenses from the consolidated fund services, which means currently they have been drawing from Treasury. So now we are amending to say the expenses of the tribunal should be funded by the Parliamentary Service Commission. So we are replacing the CFC, the Consolidated Fund Service, in terms of expenses to Parliamentary Service Commission, so that it makes it easier for the tribunal to operate, because it means anytime they are sitting, they must write to Treasury to give them authorization and the financing. But now, them being under the Parliamentary Service Commission, the implication is that anytime they want to sit, then they are just facilitated like any other committee of the Parliamentary Service Commission. That will make it easier for members to get justice out of these issues. Then clause 16 addresses the issue of audit, that the accounts of the whole fund will normally be audited. Currently it talks about Controller and Auditor General. But we know that office of the Controller and Auditor General is no longer in place. That office was replaced. We now have Auditor General. So we are saying in terms of audit, matters audit, the person who take care of that issue will be the Auditor General. And in that case then, the accounts will be audited and members will be able to get their dues in time without any problem. So generally, honorable members, in summary and in brief, these are the issues we have brought up in this bill. You remember, it's worth noting, honorable members, this bill, we have another bill which was done by Honorable Dawu, the member for Imendi, which was a replica of this. So we have agreed that we are going to only push this one forward, because once this one is passed, then all the issues are addressed. But honorable members, as I sit down, I want to say this. I'm sure most of you have interacted with our colleagues who left this house many, many years ago. Some left 10 years ago, others left 15 years ago. And anytime you meet them and shake their hand, I'm sure some of the experience you go through is not what you would want yourself to go through when somebody will be shaking your hand 20 years to come from today. Our former colleagues, some of them are going through a very hard time. And I remember there was a commission which proposed that, if possible, the government should make available $1,000 per month to support them. That bill was being championed by my friend Honorable Waruke, but it looks like our finance committee was not able to pass it because of the budget implications. But since all of us are potential former members of parliament, I urge you, honorable members, to take this matter very serious and see how we can come up with an arrangement so that those colleagues of ours who are out there, who were in this house when there was no pension, who were in this house when the salaries were so low, who were in this house when it was service to humanity and not salary, who were in this house when allowances were not there, who were in this house when facilitation in terms of staff and all these things was not in place, that we do appreciate the service they deliver to this country. The only thing you can do is, honorable members, we see how we can revisit that matter and see how we can support them, more so for purposes of medical support. The other thing I want to say, which relates to members of parliament, honorable members, our former colleagues who are out there, some of them
point of order, Honorable Bowen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I didn't want to interrupt my good friend, Dr. Makali, but just maybe a point of information to my good friend, because he mentioned on tribunal that in his proposal and the amendment is working on is also looking at establishing a tribunal. So, and I just want to inform him, and maybe if we can elaborate, the Honorable Speaker, Article 159 of our Constitution of Kenya 2010 places all tribunals under judiciary. So I just want to understand from his amendment how is that going to work? Is it not going to be unconstitutional or conflicting?
Yes, I think that was a point of information, but we'll have an opportunity at the time when we are debating, because currently the member is just moving.
Yeah, I was just moving, Honorable Speaker. But
for your information,
yes,
all tribunals actually, even though they come from the parent institution, it's just that they are managed under the judiciary.
Yes.
But usually the members and so on will come from the institution, parent institution, and then just put for management at the judiciary. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Honorable Speaker.
Proceed, but we'll have
yeah. It's good you informed me, because you used to be the registrar of the High Court then. Is it the Supreme Court, Honorable Speaker? So I think you are well guided now. So what I was saying is this tribunal will just be our own tribunal for purposes of pensions. But as the Honorable Speaker says, then membership will come from here, and it will be both from the National Assembly and the Senate. But what I was saying, honorable members, is the issue of the medical. Honorable members, I was saying, we are all of us potential former members of parliament, and very soon we'll be out there as a former member of parliament. And one matter which has been harassing our colleagues, which has actually been a challenge to our colleagues, is the issue of the medical cover, once you are no longer a member of parliament. So even as we legislate matters pension, it would also be very important, Honorable Speaker, that the Parliamentary Service Commission comes to the aid of former members of parliament, matters medical cover, so that we have an arrangement where, even though we are out there, you can actually pay, but there is a mechanism where, yes, a former member of parliament, you can pay to a fund from your resources, but the fund is centralized for former members of parliament, so that it becomes easier for purposes of management. That will help former members of parliament. So, Honorable Speaker, with those many remarks, I want to urge the honorable members to support these amendments, because they are long overdue, so that as soon as possible, we'll have this becoming an act of parliament, and then members can start enjoying some of the things being proposed in this bill. So I beg to move and request the Honorable Dr. Ouda to second this bill. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Ouda. Oh, sorry, Professor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. You know, we come from different parts of the country, so we struggle pronouncing some names. My name is Dr. Jambo Oundo, from Funyula constituency, from the land where, when you throw a stone, you are likely to hit somebody who at least has got a degree. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Before I became a member of parliament, I used to look at members of parliament with a lot of admiration, and I still do. Many of us must appreciate we become members of parliament primarily to serve the people of Kenya and to serve humanity. As we serve people of Kenya, many times we commit all our resources towards serving the people, and at the end of your term, you go home literally with nothing, or you have depleted all the assets and all the resources, all the income that you had before you joined parliament. And therefore, like any worker, you are entitled to a peaceful life upon retirement. Honorable Speaker, there has been so many studies that have been released in this country that seems to suggest that Kenyan workers are the most underpaid, or Kenyan retirees live the most deplorable life compared to other parts of the world. They do so because the pension available is so meager that are unable to meet their basics they require in life. This should never happen to a member of parliament. having put in many years to serve this country, pass very, very, very important laws, and preside over budgets. And that's why all the time, I totally agree, Dr. Makali Mulu, that it's important that we continuously make changes to the Pensions Act to ensure that members of parliament get necessary resources to enable them live a dignified life. I remember, Honorable Speaker, in the last term, Honorable Mwadime, now the governor for Taita Taveta, had a similar bill, but somehow it never went through because I think objections were raised from the National Treasury. Honorable Speaker, the amendments being proposed by our colleagues are very progressive. Progressive to the extent that they seem to address very many pertinent issues that normally affect members of parliament. Honorable Speaker, he has ably taken us through. I do not want to belabor to go through various issues. But allow me, Honorable Speaker, to address 2 or 3 issues as I second this bill. The first issue, Honorable Speaker, is Clause 13. And this Clause 13, Honorable Speaker, relates to medical cover post-retirement. Many members of parliament would probably serve and live for many years to come. And medical expenses, you never know when they will come. And when they come, they might find you are unable to meet those medical expenses. It will be a humiliation or an indictment to the National Assembly or Parliamentary Service Commission that their former member of parliament is unable to meet medical expenses. I don't know how we can coach Clause 13A in a way that runs in tandem with pension contribution. Because what Dr. Makali Mulu is proposing, the wordings the Commission may establish voluntary post-retirement medical scheme for members of parliament. May. Yet, when a member of parliament has left parliament, is at home doing their own things, is unable to meet medical bills, whom do they go to? They go back to the serving member of parliament who has to come here and organize colleagues to contribute. We need to structure it in such a way that the pension that we pay, if the RBA, Retirement Benefit Authority, can agree, in such a way that it comes a complete package. It is a pension as well as some arrangement for post-retirement medical scheme, so that we ensure our members are taken care of. Second, Honorable Speaker, is on the issue of the widow and the widower. The other day, Honorable Speaker, I was in Public Accounts Committee, and I think Treasury came to the committee. And one of the issues that I asked, how come men are never considered? How come the widowers are never considered? It's only the widow. So they told me they never contemplated that a woman would die and leave a man, that a wife will die and leave a husband. And that's why, Honorable Speaker, it's a common practice all over this country, Honorable Speaker.
What's your point of information? Honorable Wangare, what's your point of information?
Dr. Oundo, Honorable Speaker, allow me to inform Dr. Oundo that they did not consider that a woman would die. I think what the law never considered is that a woman would be the member of parliament and leave a widower. That is what they had never considered. Just a point of information. Things have changed.
I agree completely. Things have changed. And us men are endangered species, and we keep living knowing that. Honorable Speaker, also natural, and we need to be very realistic. If you ask these ladies, when they fill their next of kin forms, 90% of ladies in this country will either fill their children or their mothers, but not their husbands. It is a common practice. So, Honorable Speaker, this is progressive. Those honorable ladies who are here and members of parliament, please declare your husbands so that they become recognized and known widowers, in the event God takes your life and you are still serving, or you are serving, allow your man, your husband, to enjoy the pension, because whether you like it or not, that man has supported you in your political journey. That man supported you in one way or another. Even if he remarries or many other wives, I mean, it's none of your business. Let them enjoy the pension. Honorable Speaker, the other progressive part that we also need to look at is the issue of children. Yes, the Constitution provides for children is enabled below the age of 18, regardless whether it's a boy or a girl. But Honorable Speaker, we must make some accommodation. How that is going to be done, the legal minds can assist us. Many of the children nowadays stay in our homestead because of college and the rest, because of going to university, almost to the age of 23, 20-something. So if they're excluded from any benefits of this nature, then, Honorable Speaker, we make it difficult, we make life difficult for them. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, to be honest, former members of parliament go through a lot. That's a fact. You walk around, especially those who do not have any profession to fall back once you leave, they live a miserable life. You find them hovering around here, looking for a cup of tea, looking for something like this. A member of parliament is a honorable member of this society. Society must agree to treat them in some way with respect and take care of them at the end of their service. This habit of bashing members of parliament, being the easiest punching bag, we should ask members of society to stop this habit. If you don't want members of parliament, then why do you establish parliament? Why do you want them to pass laws? Why do you then elect them? If you don't want them, instead of bashing them every day, even when you see a member of parliament buying even a good shoe, you say, sasa ya anakula pesa yetu ya CDF. We need to get this mentality from the Kenyans, because members of parliament are our own sons and daughters, are our own husbands and wives, are our own girlfriends, are our own boyfriends, are our own mpango akandos, whatever you call it, and they support quite a lot, especially the men. They support quite a lot in this society. We must continuously support the members of parliament to deliver on their service.
What's your point of order?
And even when they end, their term ends.
Point of order, Madam Speaker. I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 91 on accuracy of statements. Is it in order for the Honorable Dr. Oundo to claim that members of parliament have mpango ya kando when they know, and he has in fact contradicted himself. He has said members of parliament are very honorable people. Members of parliament cannot have mpango ya kando. You know, the Marriage Act that we passed in this house allows you to get married to more than one wife, like a Kuku Denja, who had 97. So you don't need to have a mpango ya kando when the law allows you to marry as many wives as you want. So, and because we are an honorable house, Madam Speaker, we cannot have mpango ya kando. It is not possible. These members cannot even fathom that such a situation can occur, Mr. Speaker. So, the Honorable Oundo, Madam Speaker, is out of order.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mpango akando is not even an English word.
You're properly informed.
Yes, I'm properly informed, Honorable Speaker, but we must allow society to progress. And society lives very many ways. With those, Honorable Speaker, with those many remarks, I second the bill by Honorable our colleague. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, allow me to propose the question that the Parliamentary Pensions Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2023, be read a second time. Majority Leader, you want to contribute?
Yes, Honorable Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. And allow me, Honorable Speaker, first to thank the Honorable Makali Mulu on moving this bill. And also, in absentia, to also thank the Governor for Taita Taveta, the Honorable Mwadime, who was the original sponsor of this bill in the last Parliament. And it is good that Honorable Makali Mulu, and also for your indulgence, Honorable Speaker, allowing us to move to order number 13, so that we don't lose this bill again. And it's a very important bill, Honorable Speaker. And I don't belabor what has already been said. But just to point out a few things, I was worried when I heard the Honorable Makali Mulu talk about contributions by government for a year to take care of former members of parliament on their medical expenses. And I was wondering where he found that in the bill, but he just informed me it was just something he was saying that we should add on. And maybe I thought I should start from there. One, Honorable Speaker, just to inform the House that part of, without anticipating debate, Honorable Speaker, with your indulgence, part of the laws that are before this House due for second reading is a tax procedures bill that has a provision that is making post-retirement medical contributions of up to 20,000 shillings, down from 10,000 shillings, tax deductible. That means when you are serving as a member of parliament, or any Kenyan who is in employment today, if you want to contribute to your post-retirement medical scheme, you are allowed to contribute up to 20,000 shillings per month. That's a total of 240,000 shillings a year, tax-free, without being taxed. And it becomes a tax-deductible expense. Therefore, that is to encourage us that when we are in active service, let us contribute to post-retirement medical schemes, because they will come in handy. We do not need to ever go back to public coffers to pay for people who are in retirement. And I know Honorable Makali Mulu, being in the same profession with me, is getting it from the private sector, although he worked in the public sector, that in the private sector there are many companies that pay for their staff a post-retirement medical cover for at least a year for you to get naturalized to the world out there. But it's different for us as public officers, because this money will have to be paid by taxpayers, and therefore I just want to say I would not have agreed to that if it were in the bill. But when I perused through the bill, I discovered it's not there. And it's good to make that clear so that people out there do not misconstrue the intentions of this bill. Because when the public listens to anything they hear parliamentary, especially now when you talk about parliamentary pension scheme, they imagine it is more money that you are contributing, or members of parliament are getting more money. I was just checking my last pay slip, Honorable Speaker, and discovered every single month I contribute 59,328.50 cents to the parliamentary pension scheme. And this is money that is deducted from my salary over and above the NSSF contributions. Because again, there is a misconception that we pass laws here that don't affect us. But we pass laws that also affect us because we know better. We know beyond the term of active service, you will need it to be taken care of, Honorable Speaker. Today, millions of our elderly people above the age of 65 are under cash transfer programs, including former members of parliament. And the Honorable Undo has said, there are those that we see around here. But there are many others who are benefiting from the 2,500 shillings of the cash transfer program. But if they had a good pension scheme, they don't need to go back to public coffers to get cash transfer programs. And that is the essence even of NSSF, enhancing contributions. Because why we are having a society where everybody is dependent on public coffers is because you worked for 30 years, contributing 200 shillings a month. At the end of your 30 years of service, you have only saved 144,000 shillings. If you are given that money at the end of your term, active service, at the age of 60 or 55, within a few months, 144,000, you have wiped it out, or you are getting pension of about 2,000-3,000 shillings that cannot even take care of your medical expenses. Therefore, just for the record, Honorable Speaker, that this bill is coming at a very good time. And two, to tell the public, especially our fourth estate, because you will see that what they will report tomorrow in newspapers, and MPs increase their pensions, MPs increase their pay. This is money we are contributing from what we are already being paid. Two, Honorable Speaker, this bill aligns, as the mover said, with the 2010 Constitution, especially in roping in the Senate, those issues you've heard about widows and widowers. I don't know whether it is the law that never envisaged that there will be widowers or never envisaged members of parliament being female. I don't know whether it also envisaged whether there will be members of parliament who will be single ladies who are not married or who have divorced or separated from their husbands. And it's also good to encourage them, such men and women who have divorced or separated from their husbands, to designate somebody. And I am not naming names, but I am sure there is somebody who is listening to me. You can designate even a colleague to take care of your children when you are not there, but also to encourage all of us to continue contributing. Honorable Speaker, the mover also did touch on the question of this making the pension, our pension scheme, elective after you serve your first term. And it's good for those of us who are serving our first term to know you get your gratuity at the end of 5 years. If you do not make it to come back for a second term, that is all you get, and you don't benefit from a pension. If you ever come back, as a mover said, you can elect to contribute the gratuity that you are paid back and continue saving for your pension, so that after your second term, you continue to benefit from pension. This gratuity is very enticing, Honorable Speaker, but those who have left this house will tell you, within a few months, because you choose to continue living the way you are living as a member of parliament, within a few weeks, it is gone. And those members are left very desolate. Now we have an opportunity, and I would encourage even those who lose elections, please don't take up your gratuity if you intend to come back. Keep it with the pension scheme, and I liked something that the Honorable Konga has shared with me here, that probably, and I would encourage the move of this motion, this bill, we need to move this pension, the parliamentary pension scheme, we move an amendment to keep it in parliament, so that the administration of the parliamentary pension scheme is administered in parliament by the Parliamentary Service Commission. And Honorable Chepkonga is a former commissioner of the Parliamentary Service Commission. He can guide, and I would encourage him to bring amendments to make sure that this pension scheme is administered by the Parliamentary Service Commission, because they will relate better to the struggles and the needs of members of parliament than those in the National Treasury. When you live and you are old and elderly, you find your children now are the ones in the National Treasury. Honorable Kwenya, they will not care who you are. Some will be your grandchildren. They will just be asking this old mzee, and they don't know how much you struggled to improve the lot of the people of Kinangop and Kenyans at large, including them. But members of parliament who will be in this house serving in the Parliamentary Service Commission will be able to relate better with the struggles of a member of parliament. I therefore encourage the Honorable Chepkonga to liaise with the Honorable Makali Mulu to have the administration of this pension being administered by the Parliamentary Service Commission, not the executive in the National Treasury. Because you will see the kind of distaste that even those in the executive have for former members of parliament. And those who pursue their pensions with the National Treasury will bear me witness as those who are former members of parliament. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, for young parliamentarians, increasingly, both in this house and in the other house in the Senate, younger members of parliament are being elected. The Honorable Toto, I think, was elected at 20-something, 24. Meaning even if she served for 3 terms, she will still be below 45 years. But she would be eligible to pension, and after 3 terms, she would have to wait for another 6 years to access her pension. Now, we are creating a provision where the Honorable Toto, after serving her 3 terms, can still access her pension below the age of 45, Honorable Speaker, which is a good thing because, as Honorable Makali Mulu said, you may fall ill or something may happen. You may even be faced with an accident that incapacitates you and you are not able to work, but you have pension that is being kept somewhere by an administrator of a pension scheme, and you cannot access it until you get to the age of 45. You may even die before getting to 45, and you leave your money being enjoyed by others, Honorable Speaker. And it's good, Honorable Speaker, to remind all of us, in conclusion, Honorable Speaker, and I know many members of parliament are usually threatened by, especially around this time, you'll be told, and allow me to say it in Swahili, utatupata 2027. utaenda nyumbani 2027. Yet you go home every day. I don't know if there's a member of parliament who doesn't go home every day. You go home every day. So nobody should threaten you that you will go home, because you go to your home. The question you should ask yourself when you are here, the day you are not serving as a member of parliament, how shall things be for you? So that you don't feel threatened by anybody, threatening you that you will go home. You will go home and continue living your life as you lived when you are a member of parliament. Take care of yourselves, take care of your pension, contribute even to NSSF if you can contribute more. You can elect to contribute more, because that is what will take care of you when you are home and you are not working. Because inevitably, you are growing old. A time will come when you even choose to retire. You don't have to be to go home because somebody threatened you or somebody decided you are no longer useful. You could also choose to retire. And when you choose, it is what you contributed to your pension that will take care of you, Honorable Speaker, beyond your active life. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support this bill, but to point out, for purposes of the media and those who propagate lies against this House, the parliamentary pension scheme is a contributory pension scheme where members of parliament contribute their money from their salaries. And like every other employee who is in a contributory pension scheme does, so do we. So nobody should start peddling rumors and propaganda out there that what you are doing is giving yourselves more money. There is not a single shilling from public coffers that is this bill, and Honorable Makali Mulu sits in the Budget and Appropriations Committee. He will tell you that this bill, when it was scrutinized for money bill effect, there is not a penny or a cent or a shilling of public coffers that will come from the public coffers to support this scheme. And indeed, that's why I support even the idea of having its administration in Parliament and not in the executive, so that we take care of ourselves in old age and beyond our life in active service to the nation. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I beg to support.
The Honorable Nikal.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Let me also start by congratulating Honorable Makali Mulu and the governor of Taita Taveta now. I think when we talk of pension, perhaps I understand it better than most. One, because of age. Two, because of my past experience in government. Madam Speaker, I also want to repeat that having looked at this bill, it is not more money for MPs. This bill is basically doing two things. It is harmonizing the pension scheme that is existing with the Constitution. That's actually the basic thing. And also linking it with the social protection policy of this government. And that is all. There's no more money that will come from anywhere in this. Madam Speakers have said, this bill is actually basically about the Constitution. One, our current Constitution as the Bill of Rights. And a big part of the Bill of Rights is actually social protection. And the whole world, no country can grow and develop if it does not have a strong social protection program. And it is not only members of man, all vulnerable people need social protection. And all people who retire need social protection. Members of Parliament are actually a particular group. Madam Speaker, I've taken time to look at the lives of members of Parliament, politicians in general, at the time when they get in and at the time when they get out. Over 90% of them are socioeconomically worse off when they are leaving Parliament, when they have left Parliament, than when they came in. Madam Speaker, the process of getting in Parliament itself is expensive. But even more expensive is actually the process of maintaining that seat. The social responsibilities that goes with it, we all know it. The Arambes, the funerals, all the social responsibility. Madam Speaker, there is no person who is actually wealthy enough, if they go into Parliament, who cannot at the end of it actually be poor. Extremely rich, wealthy people have been in politics, and when they end, they're actually poor. We look at our colleagues who have been there and have retired, and Madam Speaker, most of them, over 90%, are not doing well. And these are people who are either professionals, be very serious and successful business people, or they were people in academics or in government who are doing well. What is it that makes them actually be unable to manage themselves after they leave this? It is the process of leadership as it is in the country today. So this bill actually aligns our pension scheme with the Constitution so that members of Parliament get the protection that is required. In social protection, I was in the ministry dealing with social protection. All people, I have just been informed that when we decided on 2,500, actually it was 2,000, on Honorable Mbadi in one, when he was still here, actually made amendments to push it up to 2,500. We complained because we didn't have money. But today I'm told even members of Parliament are benefiting, which means I'm likely to benefit. So that social protection in our Bill of Rights, Chapter 4, is key in what is happening here. Madam Speaker, the other element is actually, in our Constitution, we have created a bicameral system which has two houses of Parliament, the Senate and the National Assembly. And what this bill does, Madam Speaker, is actually take care of that. One, in definitions. Two, in nomenclature. So that when you say Parliament, it must be sure you mean both the National Assembly and the Senate, which was not there before. So the old act didn't take care of that. And therefore, that is important. And when you go into the structures, all the structures, in terms of membership of all the structures, did not also take care of the fact that there are two houses of Parliament. So what this bill does is to take that into consideration, and so that membership can then include both houses of Parliament. Those are the basic issues in this bill. And therefore, the definitions are now important. When you say Parliament, now we know we mean two. When you say child, that I think has been talked about. When you talk of gratuity, loss of gratuity for pension, for victory after the first term, all those are actually, when you come of age, when you come of gender, Madam Speaker, all these are now just definitions that are arising from that. But when you come to gender, Madam Speaker, I think it was definitely a discrimination, actually not just against men, but against women as well. Because if the spouses of men are benefiting, why should the spouses of women benefit? I have had the opportunity to work at a time when at a district, when my wife was a district head and I was just a pediatrician, and so I was known as the husband of. Now, I also decided every time I must benefit. If spouses are going somewhere, I must go. So that was discriminatory. And then if you look at the issue of widows and widowers, again, that is discrimination. Why would it be that the spouses of members of Parliament who are ladies, if they die, their spouses are not supported? Unfortunately, the truth is, men tend to die earlier than women in many cases. Even if you look at the Bible, there is a lot of support for widows. You don't read much about widowers in the Bible. But I think we now know better, and we should take care of that. So if you look at then the clauses, they actually take care of that. Death gratuity takes care of that, of the family, of all members, whether male or female. When you look at structures, clause 14 to clause 16, the pension committee, the membership must therefore change, because now we have two houses of parliament. So if the speaker is one side, the other speaker of the two houses must be there. So again, it is just structure. If you look at tribunal, again, the tribunal must take into consideration that there are two houses of parliament, so that the membership is also the same.
I thank you. You know, I have a lot of respect. I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 97, as read together with Standing Order 87. Madam Speaker, I respect the Honorable Nyikal, but seeing the interest in this bill, it affects all of us. If you see, everybody has locked in. If we were to take 10 minutes each, we will not be reached, Madam Speaker. And the reason why we have all come here is so that we can contribute and we can say something. Would I be in order, Madam Speaker, to request you to reduce our contribution time from 10 minutes to 5 minutes, so that each one of us can have an opportunity to say something with regard to this bill that affects all of us? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
In fact, I'll be proposing probably 3 minutes.
After.
Yes. Okay. 5 minutes. Okay.
Well, I'll also,
I think the House
I'll also end a few minutes earlier in recognition of what my colleagues are saying. But Madam Speaker, I was just saying that it is just structures. Even if you look at the audit, it is the issue of structures. The last thing I'm saying is actually about the medical insurance scheme. This post-retirement process, actually, we must take it very seriously, because medical insurance, actually, if you go after 65, you can't get into a new medical insurance. So if we now start at this point, particularly we can link it with the current insurance, and so that post-retirement insurance for members of parliament are linked to this one. Together with that contribution, it may go a long way in helping us after we retire. With that, Madam Speaker, I support.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Gilgil, Martha Wangari.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. I also want to support the bill and actually note that it is a surprise that we did do this sooner, because after the promulgation of the Constitution, we should have already aligned it with the Constitution. But it has come at the right time. Allow me to pick just a few issues, because the issues have been canvassed. Number one, to the mover, there is an issue you have spoken about, retirement on medical grounds. I would like to confirm that it also includes people living with disabilities, those who join with disabilities, and also those who get disabled when they are serving. I say that because if you remember Honorable Denita Gatti, the former Migori women rep, we joined with her in 11th Parliament. She was well, but in 12th Parliament, she was a PWD. So this provision on on article number 9 should also include PWDs, so that if you want to retire on medical grounds, the PWD aspect is also considered a medical ground, so that if you get the disability when you're serving, or even when you join when you're serving, you have that leeway to be considered at that point. And I also want to agree, Madam Speaker, that the issue of widows and widowers has been discriminatory, and I have said it's because, first of all, it was not ensured that women could serve as members of parliament, but it is very important that both spouses are included. It's also true, as Honorable Nyikal said, that statistically, the men live shorter lives. They have a shorter lifespan, generally, than women. But it's also because men usually have a backup plan, Madam Speaker, and not many stay widowers. In fact, there are very few who stay widowers. The moment their wife dies, it doesn't take long. Within a year, and you look around, even bishops, every kind of men in this country, they won't finish a year, they'll have another wife. But we have so many widows that actually are left to watch their children until they're adults. So I think that was the relationship. But I think times have changed. And we are here, and widowers should be included as widows and given the same rights, Madam Speaker. It has also helped to reduce conflict in families, because when you write that person, when you are doing your paperwork, then all the others that have been canvassed by Honorable Chepkonga, and he said clearly, members of parliament have no mipango ya kandos, but if they happen to be there, then it will be easy to case that case out, Madam Speaker, because they will be the one on record as your spouse, and you'll save your family and save your children from embarrassment and from matters that can be avoided. Madam Speaker, there is the issue of post-retirement medical scheme, and I think we agree that after you leave parliament, normally when you're going for election, Madam Speaker, when you're just at the end, in fact, your supporters, even when they know you're going to lose, they will tell you to take a loan somewhere so that you finish this thing, and they know you're going nowhere. So when you lose, Madam Speaker, you lose, you have a loan, you have auctioneers on your door, and sometimes that's why you get members going for their gratuity, because they are desperate. So I think getting this option becomes very important on post-retirement medical scheme. You have a choice to contribute, and I think what Majority Leader has said is also very important, so that when you are able to, it is not so much to contribute 10,000, 20,000, so that at the end of your term, and all of us, Madam Speaker, I mean, the statistics that we've had is that the turnover of parliamentarians is 70%. You'll be very lucky to come back to this house. In fact, when you join this house, your chance of going home is about 70%. All of us are actually queued to go home. Only a few of us have been lucky to do 1, 2 consecutive terms. So it is important that instead of begging, when you're out and begging your colleagues, trying to raise some small monies for small procedures in the hospital, you can be able to do that when you can. And this will help us a big deal, Madam Speaker, to give us an option to do that contribution. And when you are out there and you have issues of medical care, you will not have to call a harambe, because not many people will, first of all, contribute to a member of parliament. You cannot call a harambe in your backyard. It is not possible. You have to come to this house to beg people who understand what you're going through to contribute to you, Madam Speaker. It's the same thing when you lose, that even the traffic to your house just cuts off, Madam Speaker. So this will help us to cushion ourselves in terms of getting medical care, and it will go a long way to ensure that we are taken care of, and rightfully so, and not from the public coffers, Madam Speaker, but from own contribution that we make from our salaries, Madam Speaker. I support.
Thank you. The Honorable Kainan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is a very important bill, especially for those young, first-time members of Parliament. Madam Speaker, once upon a time, a one-time member of Parliament used to be pensionable. But in the year 2000, through this bill called the Omnibus Bill, the then Attorney General wrote a bill at the wee hours of the night. And I can assure you, by the time we passed, the following morning we all got our refunds, and the Member of Parliament who was pensionable was just reduced to a member without pension. Madam Speaker, you also realize that we promulgated the current constitution in August 2010. This bill should have been one of the first bills actually to be passed, to be aligned with the constitution. What has happened? 13 years, 14 years, it's because of the fear of the unknown. Madam Speaker, when you become a member of Parliament, first of all, whether you have become a member of Parliament by design, or whether you have become a member of Parliament as a product of this test tube process, madam, you become a leader. Outside there, the community, it's just like what we were debating yesterday. You are bashed, you are criticized, you lose your professional ethics, you lose everything that you have earned over the years as a professional before you join politics. Now, what remains in this difficult world of politics, Madam Speaker, is just like the other state officers. Ask yourself, why is the member of Parliament, who is a state officer, treated differently by SRC, by Treasury, by anybody else, Madam Speaker? It's simply because members of Parliament fear the world outside there. I want to ask you, when you are first elected, the assumption is you are the most powerful. The assumption is you are the most popular. The assumption is you are the most handsome. The assumption is you are the most beautiful. The assumption is you are everything. So when you come here, you lose all those identities. You live here minus your husband. You live here minus your wife. You live here minus your health. You live here minus your wealth. You live here minus your popularity. And I can tell you, by the time you exit there, you will be a pound, you will be a nobody. So you'll be regretting outside there and say, I wish I did this. I wish I did this. You have an opportunity. Don't fear. You are a state officer. You have the same constitutional entitlements like any other state officer pursuant to the current constitution. Why have you not passed this? I am a member of the committee, the finance committee, that will be bringing amendments. And I can assure you, we have put in place the best brains. I don't want to prejudice. We will give you the best product out of this. We are consulting the PSC, Parliamentary Service Commission. We are consulting the pension department. We are consulting the best brains within the parliamentary legal system so that we refine this bill in the next stage, including giving the member of parliament treatment that befits not only other state officers, but as an elected leader who has served one of the best institutions called the August House. When those amendments come in your share numbers and support it, because that will secure your life after this August House. I always say, if you come to this place with the assumption that you are a potential former member of parliament, you will do well. But if you come here with the assumption that you have reached and you are everything, I can tell you, the term will be 5. So all of us are potential former members. So my definition as a serving member of parliament is I am a potential former member of parliament because the electorate tomorrow can ask you exit. So what is there for the outside? What is there for you in the outside world? Madam Speaker, we are solving some of the definitional problems. Definitional problems because the current, it's called the National Assembly Pension Act. But we have a bicameral house. It has taken us 13 years to harmonize this. Isn't it a shame? Isn't it a shame, members, that we have taken 13 years to domesticate a bill that touches on none other than one of the 3 arms of government? It is. Why have we not done it? Because we fear. But time has come. It is today. The other bit, Madam Speaker, a critical thing, and I am glad that you have alluded to this, and I want to really ask for some few more minutes, is the issue of voluntary post-retirement benefit. I don't want to mention names, and my brother here, I think he has left. Some of the best brains from Thank you. By the time they left, Madam Speaker, the academic world outside there was not willing to accept them. They have lost the flair, the popularity to be a member of parliament. What has happened? A number of them are living in abject poverty in Kibera and many other places, Madam Speaker. We need to cure that so that the member of parliament does not only enjoy respect when you are serving member of parliament, but when you exit, you continue with the same respect. That is why this voluntary post-retirement benefit is so critical to the life and the well-being. And I like the way you have put it when you are contributing to the life and the well-being of not only the member of parliament, but to the family of the member of parliament, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that's a critical component in this particular bill. Madam Speaker, the other bill that we have cured, that we'll be attempting to cure, you have served 1 term. By the grace of God, your conscience or our conscience have asked you to exit. What you came back, what happens? That bit must also be cured. The other bit that will be cured through this bill is you have served 2 terms, you exited, you have gone with your pension, and then you are back for the 3rd term. What happens? That lacuna will also be cured, this, so that there is either continuity or the benefits is defined. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, what I want to say is this. This bill will also be aligned with Article 127 of the Constitution, which forms the Parliamentary Service Commission, because the Parliamentary Service Commission is our trade union. So in conclusion, support this, and I can assure you, you will join the league of the other state officers. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Endebess.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Allow me to support this bill by the Honorable Makali Mulu, and also to thank the former member, the current governor for Taita Taveta, for having been the initiator of this bill, and Honorable Makali for making sure that we don't lose this bill. This is an important bill, Madam Speaker, and as you are aware, this House also passed the Parliamentary Service Commission Amendment Bill, in which one of the recommendations was that on mothers' health, we should be able to have members who are either former members of the National Assembly or the Senate having a medical cover. And this can only be actualized through ensuring that when members leave this House, they can also join the group medical cover through individual contribution, and we can be able to determine that how much each member is able to pay so that he can be able to access medical cover outside there. On the same breath, Honorable Speaker, I also want to encourage members in this House that we have a gym facility in level 24. Please utilize it for your health. It also helps you to keep physically fit and avoid going to the hospital. So, and there are other facilities which are accessible within that place. Yes, a doctor's advice. You can also access reflexology there. You can access massage. There is also steam and other services. So these are all health benefits while you are here. And Honorable Speaker, looking at the bill, especially in issues to do with how pension management will be, it is stating that we shall contribute to the consolidated fund. I think now that we are thinking about bringing amendments, that section about contribution to the consolidated fund, when we go to the committee of the whole House, should be amended so that we can contribute to the pension scheme of the nation, of Parliament, so that we have a scheme that can be controlled within Parliament. Because when you people have retired and they go to, and it is being managed at Treasury, they are being tossed from one office to another. And it's actually very sad, very disheartening. Because when you look at people who have retired and they are following their pension, many of them come to us as honorable members to assist them. It's because they are feeling frustrated. It takes a long time for somebody to access his pension instead of being an automatic. I think with now that all the ministries are going to be digitized, it should be automatic transition so that when somebody retires or does not get another term for Parliament and is qualified to access pension, that pension should be automatic. You have no business following from one office to another, and then you are being told that your file is in this office, your file has not been seen, it is disappeared, until you cough some money so that your file can be found. I think it's a shame and embarrassing, and it's a fraud and corruption that should be done away with. As we fight against corruption, there are little corruptions, which looks like the way you are driving in a road and you find even a matatu which has no problem. The policeman needs to be given a kickback.